Frisk Frugt.
Yeah.
Where did the name come from?
That's a difficult question to answer in quick words. I think it's a combination of a story from something I heard in a backstage room once, where a guy said to another really angry guy that he should have some Frisk Frugt and cheer up and feel good. But that's one thing where it comes from. It also maybe comes a bit from my approach to record music. I often like to improvise a lot and things, and like to get things while they are still fresh or something, like this kind of idea. So it's always hard to explain, of course, but it's something to do with those things.
Recently you've produced 2 CDs. One is called Dansk Toppen Murder Burkina Faso, and then a couple of other words in Danish, I think. And the other one is for 6 electric guitars.
Yes.
Which of the 2 are you going to do tonight?
This show is for the Frisk Frugt thing. The other one is pretty strict. It's music that I composed on for 6 electric guitar players, and so tonight it's the Frisk Frugt thing, and we are only 2 people performing tonight. Yeah. Because
as Frisk Frugt, you can also work with more people than just 2.
Yes. I mean, I did a lot of concert just as a solo act, but I also did many shows experimenting a lot with the live setup. So we did one concert in the Roskilde Festival in Denmark. I think we were 10 musicians and 3 dancers. So that was like a huge lineup. But I've also performed as a quartet, as a quintet, and a lot of solo. So it's not like a fixed band, It's more like a way of approaching music, and then I try to experiment a lot with how to present it live. So.
Did you also bring your self-built flute organ?
Yes, it's in my suitcase upstairs, but let's see if it's still working. It's always a bit of exciting to open and see, because because of the fact it's self-built, it's always a bit tricky to keep it working. So. Yeah. But I brought it. Yeah.
You've been in Africa a couple of years ago, which must have been a tremendous influence on your work, I imagine. Could you say that there's one absolutely major thing which is most influential from Africa, which has most influenced you in your work, or made the biggest impression?
I think one of the things that made the biggest impression from visiting, I visited Mali and Burkina Faso, was the fact that to see the way that the music was always connected with dancing, and a lot of this whole movement of the body, where the music becomes very physical, or it gets like a manifestation in the physical world as well. And that was really, really inspiring for me to see this connection in such a clear way, because I never really got into, I guess maybe you have it here a bit in clubbing culture or something, where people really go out to dance, but I never really took part in this kind of scene. So for me to see it there was really made a great impression on me, and that made me, when I came home from this trip, I didn't want to do African music, but I really had the idea of dance in some way in the things I was working with, and of course also this kind of repetition in the music and these kind of things that can easily relate to the movement of the body.
Yeah. And the Danish influence, is there still, so to speak, Danish traditional or Danish folk music in your work?
Yes, I mean the record you mentioned before, the one called Dansk Toppen Møder Burkina Faso i det himmelblå rum, hvor solen bor svite, has a very long and complicated Danish title. Actually, the idea for that album was to try and combine, because I sometimes write songs and use Danish lyrics, so the idea was to combine these inspirations from Africa, these very with a lot of beats and strong rhythmical patterns and stuff, to try and work that into the combine that with singing in Danish and writing Danish songs. So I really wanted to try and do something in between those two things, because for me it's not very interesting to just say I want to do African music, because I'm not an African guy and I can never do it half as good as an African guy can. So for me it was way more interesting to try and have different things drawing in different directions, and trying to put them together to create a field of tension where something interesting maybe could occur. So.
Do you feel related to the minimal music, which most people, I think, associate with works by Steve Reich or Philip Glass or things like that? Do you think your music has anything to do with that, or rather not?
Yes, it has. But of course, those guys, again, are influenced by African music. So it all goes back to Africa in some way. But yeah, definitely. But I think a guy like Steve Reich, for example, he works maybe more like strict as a composer, as doing these very strict things. I think my approach is maybe has a more improvised, folky kind of, where it's more loosely the way I like to work with the repetition and stuff. But of course, it's and a guy like what is he called, Terry Riley, I used to listen to a lot. In fact, I also play the keyboard music. I like to do that. So yeah, but actually we meet in Africa, because I know Steve Reich also traveled around in Africa and was really inspired by drum music from there. So yeah.
Listening to your music, I had the association with Terry Riley as well, but through a sort of bypass through London 1968, like the music by Syd Barrett. And that sort of music. Do you feel related to that as well?
Yes, in some way. I mean, because of the fact that sometimes I write songs and sing, and all this thing is I love Syd Barrett, but so that's also I also used to play the saxophone and study that, and all the whole improvised thing with jazz, and so I'm really kind of a weird combination of a lot of different musics
that is into your music.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Maybe just one more question. Can plants make music?
That's a good question. No. I mean, synthesizers can produce sounds and stuff, and you can use plants to influence certain kinds of music. I mean, I've been experimenting with that, and it's very interesting, I think. But it's hard to get the plant itself to produce the actual sounds, and that's what is the big challenge, because it's much more easy to have the plant maybe influencing on some synthesizer circuit or something, but then if you really strip it down, it's the synthesizer making the sound, But of course, if it's a human being also plays on a synthesizer, and then the human is the one making the music, you would say, I guess. But it's a good question, and but it's fun to experiment with.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Thank you.